Thanks for sticking around for these next couple questions. We'll have to be flipping back and forth a little bit to get these values represented here. So how many times more nurses are there than doctors? When we talk about the number of nurses, we talk about 3 and 4500 times 10 to the 6th. Divided by the number of doctors, 6 and 9/10 divided by 10 to the 5th. Now we can clearly see there are fewer doctors than there are nurses. We pull out our calculator. It does say estimate, so what we can look at is basically say this is 3.5 approximately, and this is about 7. And I know that 3 and 5/10, if we're thinking in terms like this, is half of 7. And so I know we're looking at approximately 5/10 times 10 to the first power. Quotient of power says 6 minus 5 on the powers. And then when we work on the simplifying these values, we say 5/10 times 10 would be 5 multiplied by 10 one time. And so we'd say there's about 5 times more nurses than doctors. Okay. How much money do all doctors make put together? We see multiplication, so we go back to our doctors. We know that there are 6 and 9/10 times 10 to the 5th power being multiplied by the money that they make. So doctors, 1 and 8700 times 10 to the 5th power is going to give us our values where, again, we're going to pull out the calculator. And the cool part with this is we can just multiply straight across finite decimals times each other, and then the powers of 10 times each other. We're going to get the powers of 10 is product of powers. 10 to the 5th times 10 to the 5th is 10 to the 10th. 6 and 9/10 times 1 and 8700 is 12 and 903 thousandths. Now, with this answer being too large for scientific notation, the finite decimal is greater than 10. We need to bump this down a little bit. So make this 10 times smaller means that we make our power of 10 10 times bigger. So we would get a value that's 1 and 2,903 ten thousandths times 10 to the 11th power. I'm going to set up number 3 and number 4 for you. And then I'm going to leave it to you on your own to go ahead and calculate those values. Thank you for coming back and seeing a little bit more with this. If you have questions about scientific notation, multiplying or dividing, please reach out to me. Number 3, we're estimating police officers, how much money they make all together. Police officers, 7 and 8/10 times 10 to the 5th. And then 5 and 7/10 times 10 to the 4th. Again, multiply these values, 7 and 8/10 times 5 and 7/10, and then multiply the powers of 10. And when we talk about the enlisted for the military officers and then the military put all together, talking about who makes more money, we want to take a look at these values and say the military enlisted, 1.16 times 10 to the 6th. Times 4 3800s times 10 to the 4th. And then I want to compare that. This is enlisted and this is officers. To the officers, fewer officers. And then their salary, about $100,000. Now, here's the key thing when we look at this. We would see that there are more enlisted. We can see 10 to the 6th times 10 to the 4th would give us 10 to the 10th. And the bottom 10 to the 5th times 10 to the 5th is 10 to the 10th as well. I know that the bottom value, 2 and 5/10 is already simplified. The cool thing about multiplying 4 and 3/8 times 1 and 1600 gives me a value that's going to be definitely greater than 2 and 5/10. So I know I can just divide in the way that it's set up. And now the rest is yours to do. Again, reach out if you have questions. Thanks for tuning in again for this extra little bit. Have a great day.